Hi, it's Summer. Happy Pride Month. I did my nails last night for it. I wanted to kick June off with some queer book recommendations. I think this is my third video that I've done so far, focusing on LGBTQ plus books. I have quite a few of them on my list today, so I'm just gonna get right into it. My first recommendation is actually a series. I don't know what the series name is, but the first book is Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. The second book is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail. And the third book is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. This series follows a group of women that are all part of the same friend slash family group. Every single one of these focuses on a female-female romance. This one is my favorite out of the series. That's why I have this one in person, even though I'd love the other two as physical copies as well. This was the first one that I really wanted to have on my shelves. I really related to Astrid's character. I love all of the friendship dynamics in these books. You get to see all of the characters from the first book throughout the rest of the series. Each of the romances feels so different from the other, but they're each so flirty and fun to read. They're also very steamy, which is a fun time. Delilah Green Doesn't Care focuses on Delilah, who's a photographer, and she is the, I think, stepsister to Astrid. So that's why it's not just a friend group, it's kind of family is kind of tied in a little bit as well. Delilah is very kind of grumpy and moody. I would say her book is very kind of like Grumpy Sunshine a little bit. It also has a single mom trope. The second book follows Astrid, and it kind of follows the events of the first book, so I would recommend to read these in order. She's an interior designer and she's working on this kind of TV show. They're going to be flipping this old home in her city. Jordan is a contractor that's also going to be working on this project, and they kind of start off on the wrong foot, so it's a little bit of enemies to lovers in the beginning. The third book, Iris Kelly, is about Iris, who has commitment issues, and she has a terrible not even one night stand with this woman. I'm forgetting her name right now, but there's anxiety rep in it, there's fake dating. It's a really fun time, and that one kind of focuses on community theater. I love the series so much though, and I highly recommend it. Next, I have a horror book. It's What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. T. Kingfisher is one of my favorite authors. I love their writing style. They also write a lot of different things. They literally write cozy fantasy and then stuff like this. This is a retelling of The Fall of the House of Usher. The main character that we're following in this one is non-binary. They're a soldier, or they used to be a soldier, and they are going to visit a childhood friend who they've heard is dying. The manor and the grounds around this place are being overtaken by weird vegetation and fungus, and the animals on this estate are acting strangely, they might be possessed by something. The girl who's dying is named Madeline, and she is very visibly not doing well. She also sleepwalks at night and says really weird things, and so the main character, Alex, is going to try to get to the bottom of it. The writing was so good and descriptive. The setting was just so eerie and gothic and dark. It was just a really good creepy time, and I definitely recommend it if you like horror. Next is another book with non-binary rep in it. It's A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. This is a cozy sci-fi book. It takes place in a future society where robots were responsible for a lot of society and a lot of the jobs and stuff, and they gained sentience and left peacefully and decided that they wanted to go and live in their own kind of civilization, out in the wild. I forgot what the main character's name is, but they run a kind of tea shop on wheels, and it's basically tea and therapy is what they do. They brew tea for people, and they just kind of listen to their problems and kind of offer support. It says, now the life of the tea monk who tells the story is upended by the arrival of a robot, there to honor the old promise of checking in. The robot cannot go back until the question of what do people need is answered. And so a lot of this book is just them kind of talking. It's very cozy though. I loved the descriptions of the tea cart that the main character has. This one was really heartwarming, and it's only 160 pages, so it's a great one if you like short books. Next, I have The Book Eaters by Suni Dean. This is one of the most creative books I've ever read. It has such a unique concept. The back says, Devon is part of The Family, an old and reclusive clan of book eaters. Her brothers grew up feasting on stories of valor and adventure, and Devon, like all of the other book eater women, is raised on a carefully curated diet of fairy tales and cautionary stories. The Book Eater Society exists alongside humans in a contemporary setting, and they survive off of eating books. Whatever information is in the books that they eat, they retain all of that information and knowledge. Also in this society though, there is a rare type of book eater that can be born that's called a mind eater. So like the name kind of suggests, instead of eating books, they eat the minds of people. And by doing that, they receive all of the memories and knowledge that that person had. Devon has a son who is born a mind eater, and the fate for a mind eater in the society is not a good one, so she decides to escape with him. At the end of the audiobook for this one, there was an interview with the author, or maybe it was just an author's note, but they said that they wrote this book because they wanted to do a different take on vampires. And I just think that's like the coolest idea ever. The queer elements of this book aren't like at the forefront of the story. It's kind of a softer, smaller thing that happens, but it was something about this book that I enjoyed. And overall, this book is just like such a good book. I definitely recommend it. Next, I have a graphic novel. This is The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostertag. This one follows the main character named Morgan. She's 15 years old, and she cannot wait to escape the perfect island that she lives on. She wants to get away from her sad divorced mom, her volatile brother, her group of best friends who don't actually know her at all, and also because she's keeping a secret that she is into girls. It says, then one night Morgan is saved from drowning by a mysterious girl named Kelty. Suddenly life on the island doesn't feel so stifling anymore. This was just a really cute, quick, coming of age queer story, and the art style is really pretty as well. Next, I have another graphic novel. This is The Baker and the Bard by Fern Hott. It's cozy fantasy, which is always a favorite of mine. This follows Juniper and Hadley, the baker and the bard. They spend their respective days apprenticing at a little bakery and performing at a local inn. But when a stranger places an unusual order at the bakery, the two friends set out on a journey to forage the magical mushrooms needed to make the requested pastries. So it's a really cute friends to lovers cozy fantasy, and you just get to see them go on this like little adventure together. I'm just going to continue with graphic novels. This is Snapdragon by Kat Lee. This is about the main character Snap, who befriends the town witch. There's a female-female romance in this one. There's a trans character. This is a really cute and wholesome like magical story, but it also has hard-hitting elements. It's heartwarming and has unique quirky characters in it. There's a little bit of magic to it. If you're going to pick up any of the graphic novels that I talk about in this video, this definitely needs to be the one. My last graphic novel recommendation is Rainbow Volume 1 by Sunny and Gloomy. This follows the main character, Boo, who gets swept away in her daydreams a lot of the time. She has her head in the clouds. She has a really rough home life and has a lot of stress from school and work, but she starts to become friends and maybe something more with the new girl at her school. This was a really cute one, but I actually recommend not purchasing the physical copy. I recommend that you go and read this on Webtoon. That's where it started out as a webcomic. This physical version, the end of it felt a little bit like unfinished. It wasn't a very satisfying ending, and I know that there's going to be more volumes in this series. I think it's just more worth it to go and read this on Webtoon for free, and there's also more content than just what's in volume 1. It has more to the series on there already, so that's what I recommend for this one. It's a start to what I think is going to be a really good story. Next, I have another short horror book. This is The Woods All Black by Lee Mandelo. This is a really weird and unhinged book. It will make you so angry for the characters, but it's also some good horror and some good revenge. This one is set in 1920s Appalachia, and it follows a trans man named Leslie who is a war nurse. He's sent to this really small and religious town to help with doing vaccinations and childbirths and helping the pregnant women of this town. Leslie is immediately treated badly by this town though because of their identity. In addition to treating Leslie terribly, there's a member of the town that is also trans that they also just treat terribly, so the two of them kind of cross paths. And there also might be a monster that's prowling around in the woods. I recommend this to people who like weird horror. I would not recommend this to someone who's just gonna be like dipping their toe into the genre. Even though this book makes you just feel so much anger for the characters, it's also very satisfying. Next is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. This one follows Raina and Canth. I really loved that in this story they are already established as a couple. This one is a female-female romance. Raina works as one of the queen's private guards, and Canth is the most powerful mage in existence. And they really want to escape their lives and open up a tea/bookshop. To do that would mean committing treason though, by like abandoning their positions, but they do it anyway. And they have this kind of like cozy magical adventure. I really loved this one, and I also recommend the audiobook. Next is another sapphic romance. This is Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma R. Albin. This is a queer Victorian romance in which two debutantes distract themselves from having to seek husbands by setting up their widowed parents, and instead find the perfect match in each other. So this is Friends to Lovers, and I loved the time period that it's set in. Basically, if you just want like lesbian Bridgerton, even though it's kind of a different time period, like this is your book. It's so cute. Next, I have A Fragile Enchantment by Allison Saft. This one has quite a bit of queer rep in it. There's bi representation, there's a sapphic romance. This is cozy fantasy with Bridgerton vibes. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering right, there's like kind of a Lady Whistledown situation going on. It has a grumpy sunshine romance, which is one of my favorite tropes. The main character is a magical seamstress, which I thought was a really cool way to do the magic system in this book. I really liked the writing style and all of the descriptions of things, especially like the clothing. I love it when stories like really focus on describing what the clothes look like. And then honestly, I kind of think that I saved the best for last because you need to go read this book. It's The Honey Witch by Sydney Shields. This is a new all-time favorite book of mine. I'm obsessed with it. It's a soul book for me. It's cozy fantasy about a woman named Marigold who finds out that she is a witch, and she gets invited by her grandmother to go and live with her on this island and to learn to become the Honey Witch. So the magic in this story revolves around honey and bees. There's lots of nature. There's a cozy cottage that we spend a lot of time at. With Marigold's newfound magic though, there's also a curse that comes with it, that no one will be able to fall in love with her. But Lottie Burke, a notoriously grumpy skeptic, shows up on her doorstep, and Marigold can't resist the challenge to prove to her that magic is real. The queer rep in this one is just so good. There's bisexual rep, there's lesbian rep, there's pansexual rep. The main romance though is sapphic, enemies to lovers, with a touch of like forced proximity. So freaking good. I need you to go read this book. Let me know what your favorite LGBTQ books are and which ones I need to add to my TBR. I of course need you to leave the rainbow emoji in the comments if you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Appalachian sunrise meets my